Welcome back everyone, I'm K Plays Games, this is EVE Online, and today I'm going to be talking about some EVE Online hints and tips. Just small things, some of them are quality of life, other ones are like hidden UI elements that nobody tells you about, so I'm going to tell you about them. The first thing we're going to talk about is something out of game. I know, it's a scary world out there, but hear me out, we're not going very far away from EVE Online. We're going as far as the EVE Online launcher. So with this tip, you open launcher settings at the top right of the screen with the settings wheel. You go to Tools and Cache. You go to Shared Cache. Then you click Verify Files. This will look for any corrupt game files, look for any missing game files, and repair and replace them as necessary. This can solve lots of little bugs that you come across in-game. And when launcher is finished doing its thing, you can come back in game, then press escape to bring up the options panel, go to the reset settings tab, and the one you want is in the middle called clear all cache files. Make sure you do not click the one above it. The one above it is clear all settings, and if you click this button you will have a really bad time. I really wish that clear all settings was split off from the rest of this list and put way down here on its own. But the one we want to do is clear all cache files. So just click that and then it'll ask you to log out and log back in again, so you just accept. And what these two things do, verifying files and clearing the cache, this will fix about 95 to 99% of all small bugs and issues you might have in EVE Online. So it's a really good way of keeping your game client completely up to date and in tip-top condition. I would recommend doing this on a regular basis. I do it roughly weekly or bi-weekly as I remember, but especially on days where there's been a major patch release, it makes really good sense to do that just to double check that your game client is working properly. Something else you can do in the launcher, if you go to launcher settings and then the launcher category and you click download the full EVE game client. Sometimes this is not enabled by default and this can cause you issues, because if you don't download the full game client, every time you undock the game will have to manually load in everything. It's down here above the clock in the bottom left hand corner, you see the resource loading wheel. Obviously because I have downloaded the full EVE client, I will never see this light up. But if you see this light up, it means it's having to manually load in assets every single time you undock or jump a gate, and this can slow your game down, especially if you have poor internet. So for that reason, I would strongly suggest clicking download full game client from the launcher settings. Something else we can do in the launcher, if you go back to the main launcher page and click the user settings wheel next to the name of your account, and then click select client profile. Sometimes it will say default and sometimes it will be this one. This is the one you actually want. This is where your settings are saved on your computer. So sometimes if things look really weird and clearing cache and verifying files doesn't fix it, it could be because for some strange reason the launcher has decided to choose the default profile instead of the one where your settings are saved. And if you need to migrate to a different PC, what you can do, you can click the Manage Profiles button, and this will bring up the Profile Manager. Now it looks like this. If you search for Profile Management Tool, EVE Online, you will get to this web page. When you click the Manage Profile thing, it will bring up this Profile Manager. This is really good for migrating clients from one hard drive to another. And down here, this backing up profiles section, this tells you exactly where to find the settings folder on your machine, and all you have to do is to copy that folder and put it somewhere else, so you always have a hard backup of all your EVE Online settings. This can save you all kinds of heartbreak and disaster. Okay, that's enough out of game stuff for now. Let's talk about some in-game stuff. One cool thing you can do in chat, if you go to channel settings here in the top left and you select set word filters. If there's words you never want to see, you type them in the upper box and all these words will be replaced by asterisks. A little bit like self-censorship, but that's not really what we're here for. We're here for these ones. The words you want to be highlighted in chat. Any words you type in here will be highlighted in green. which is really cool because it makes stuff really easy to see. And you can checkmark always blink chat tabs on highlighted words, so even if you right click on a chat tab and disable the blink, this will override that, so when any of these words you want to be highlighted are spoken in a chat, it will flash it, so you will know that this is flashing because one of the words that you've selected to be highlighted are there. When you're in Fleet or in Corp, or you've got lots of different chat tabs open, this can really help you. Speaking of filters, we can have a talk about item filters. You open your inventory, you open the full inventory tree here with this tiny little icon. Then at the bottom you'll see My Filters. You expand that with this triangle. And here you can add as many filters as you want to your inventory. You just click what you want, so say group is charge, so this will show only ammo, and then you can further break it down to meta group. So if you just want to find faction ammo, group charge, meta group is faction, stack size, so you can get really precise with this stuff. You can nest almost an infinite amount of these options, so you can get some really advanced filters. This is really good if you've got a full inventory and it's not very well managed in canisters. But even if you do have it in canisters, it's a really good way of finding exactly what you want very quickly. Something else that's cool is the Notepad. You find it by going to Neocom menu, Utilities and Notepad. As we see here, I have dozens and dozens of notes in nested folders. You can drag things into them to make them into links. It's really handy. And one thing you should really drag in here is your overview. So you go up here at the top right to overview, and then at the top left of that is your overview settings. See this share button here? You just drag that and it'll form a link, and then you can drag that link into a notepad note, so you always have a hard backup of your overview, because overview is one of the things that can sometimes reset itself of its own volition. Another cool thing I can mention is the biology skill. If we show info on the biology skill book, it says it adds 20% bonus to attribute booster duration per skill level. So at level 5 it will double the duration of any boosters. Boosters are things like combat drugs you take, so having them last twice as long is really good for combat. But something that's really quite interesting is that it also affects cerebral accelerators. Things like this. These are usually only handed out as gifts, and they do different things. Most of them just speed up your training. As we see, this one here adds 8 points to every single one of the 5 attributes, which equals 12 skill points per minute. And the duration is 12 days and 12 hours. So for 12 days and 12 hours, you will get an extra 12 skill points per minute, which adds up to quite a lot. But if we have biology level 5, this will double the duration of this. So 24 days and 24 hours is 25 days. So you'll get 25 days of 12 skill points a minute. So this will make you a lot of extra skill points, and all it takes you is the time to train the biology skill. Back on the market, there's the market Quickbar. What you can do, you can just drag anything you buy and sell all the time into this Quickbar. So instead of having to use the search to find things or trying to navigate the nested folders, which are sometimes completely unintuitive and annoying, you just left click on stuff in your Quickbar and the market shall appear just like magic. And something else that's really cool about the Quickbar, you can drag ship fittings from your saved fittings list straight into the Quickbar, and it will save the entire fitting in a folder with lots of subfolders in it with everything for the entire fit listed here. Yes, I know there is a buy all button in the bottom right of the fitting window, but if you open the fitting by clicking view fitting, there is a buy all button on there. But sometimes you might want to have it on the Quickbar, so that is something that's pretty cool. Whilst we're in the market, I think we'll have a look at something else. Back in the ancient days of Eve, NPC trade goods could be bought and sold between NPCs. It's usually under the trade goods folder, as you might imagine. Consumer products is quite a good one. Here's one example. Here are some antibiotics. As we know from previous experience that any market order over 90 days in duration is NPC, because players are capped at 90 days. See all these 364 days and these 364 days, these are all NPCs. So this NPC is selling antibiotics at 310.5 ISK per unit, and this one down here is buying them at 361.5. So you can make 51 ISK a unit by hauling antibiotics between this NPC and this NPC. You can make quite massive spreadsheets by flying around the galaxy and planning out which ones buy low, which ones sell high, and vice versa. So that is a good way of making ISK. You can actually make quite a decent amount of ISK if you put some work into this. There's all kinds of stuff. So you can make pretty large spreadsheets and work out which NPCs to buy from, which NPCs to sell to. You can make quite a lot of money hauling garbage around the universe. It's good for a rookie, so it doesn't make a huge amount of money, but it is pretty decent. Now something that's very similar to that are these. These are the circle agents. This is the Eugenio wiki page for it, and what these do is that this first agent will give you a small amount of cargo to move, and the destination is the second agent, and the second one will give you something small to take to the third, and the third will give you stuff to take to the fourth, and so on. And then the agent right at the bottom will give you some stuff to take back to the first agent. And these missions are repeatable forever, so you just fly in a great big circle. There's different ones for each of the empires, and you just go around in a great big circle for as long as you want, carrying small amounts of things between these agents. It barely pays you anything, but it does still exist. It's a bit of a curiosity. That's something you can do as a rookie if you don't want to do anything that makes you any real money. Something we can talk about in-game is the tactical overlay. This is the button here right next to the camera buttons. Just click this and it gives you an overlay just as it says. This is really good for use with the hotkeys. So the approach hotkey is Q. So say we want to go somewhere, but double clicking in space isn't very accurate. What you do, you hold Q, you draw a line to how far you want to go and which XY direction, you left click, and then you just drag your mouse up or down. And our ship will now move directly to this point in space. It's really rather cool. This works with all the hotkeys, so it works with keep at range and orbit as well. There we are, because double clicking in space, you just keep moving that way forever, but when you use the tactical overlay, you can actually pick a distance and then stop. This is really handy for things like logistics pilots, so you can know exactly how far away you need to be from your fleet. So I think we'll orbit this. There we are. Done. This takes a little bit of getting used to, but once you've done it a few times, you'll realise how powerful and useful this feature is. Something else that's pretty cool is the hotkey L. This brings up a little miniature list of all the save locations you have in your current system. As you know, all your save locations are listed up here in the People and Places folder, but finding the right one can be a bit of a pain, and you don't really want to be opening this window in combat. So you press L, you get this miniature list of things. Like, quite a lot of people will drag it up here next to the overview, so it acts almost like a second overview for bookmarks you have in the system. So you can align and warp out really quite quickly. It's a really handy feature, and it's one of the best things they've brought to the game in a long time. The last thing we're going to talk about in this video is something I briefly covered in the Let's Play series, and it's Instant-dock and Instant-undock bookmarks, especially handy at trade hub stations or any other busy station, or a dangerous station. Like this one. See, when you warp to 0, you warp to the edge of this dotted ring of lights around the outside of the station. This is the docking ring, and due to the RNG nature of warping, sometimes you will land just outside it, as we have here. Then when you click dock, your ship will have to slowly coast in, and that makes you vulnerable. Especially at stations like Jita, which have one common entrance and one common exit. Everyone clusters around, and people will undock with smart bombs and try and kill everyone. So to make an instant dock, what you do, you just fly well inside this docking ring. Let's give ourselves a burst of microwatt drive. Not too close to the station model because you don't want to bounce off it. So when you're well inside the docking ring like this, you can drop a bookmark. Then we'll warp away to something.
Warp drive active.
Okay, so how do we actually use these instant docking bookmarks? And why do I call them instant docking? What you do is that you right click the station, you select set destination, then you right click your bookmark, select warp to 0.
Warp drive
then once you're
active.
in warp, you activate the autopilot.
Engaged.
What this will do, because we know our bookmark is inside the docking ring, we'll land inside the docking ring and autopilot will instantly dock us. Check this out.
Docking permission requested. Docking request accepted.
Boom! Just like that. Safe and sound.
Autopilot disabled. Waypoint reached.
As for instant undocks, what you do, you get your fastest ship with a microwatt drive, you undock from the station, you turn on your microwatt drive, you do something else for about 10 or 20 minutes, because the goal here is to get as far away from the station as possible. So here we are, the station's now a good 11,000 kilometers away, and when you're far enough away, you drop another bookmark. You might want to do this a few times and drop bookmarks at various and different distances. And the theory here is that when you undock from a station, you're automatically already going at maximum speed. And because you flew straight ahead when you made your bookmark, you're already aligned to the bookmark. So what you do is that as soon as you undock, you just click warp to location and you'll instantly warp away from the station and away from danger. Because when you're undocking from trade hubs, quite often you'll be full of expensive gear you've just bought, and you don't want to be hanging around aligning right outside the station like every other idiot. Because people with tornadoes or smart bombs will try and kill you. If you have an instant undock, you'll just warp straight to that and get out of dodge. So that was the last little hint and tip I had for you today. If I think of any more, I'll put them in different videos. No, it probably wasn't a very entertaining video, but I hope it was at least informative. Until we meet again, take very good care of yourselves. I'll talk to you later.